And a good afternoon. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Tim Pandajis. It is Thursday, June the 1st, the first day of hurricane season, and right on schedule. We're tracking an area of disturbed weather, a low pressure system, an investigative area, Invest 91L, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Eastern Gulf. Here are some recent developments. Development odds for this becoming our first named storm of the season have gone up. It is now high, a 70% chance. Hurricane Hunter aircraft has been deployed. They have departed Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, headed into the system to determine if it has a closed circulation and if, in fact, we have our first tropical depression or tropical storm. That first name on our list would be Arlene. However, it is unlikely to move inland over the U.S. That's what we like to hear. It's going to stay out in the open Gulf of Mexico and eventually travel pretty much due south in the coming days. But here's a look at that development area. It's Invest 91L, 70% development odds in the next 2 days. Within 7 days, that jumps up to 70% as well, right up through the end of the weekend and into next week. So what exactly is an Invest? Invest 91L is what this has been tagged as. The Invest stands for an area of investigation. The 91 is just a number given when we cycle through 90 to 99, and the L indicates the basin location. L corresponds with the Atlantic Basin. If it were an E, it would be Eastern Pacific. If it was a C, it'd be the Central Pacific. Here's how it looks on infrared satellite imagery. We use this filter on satellite to determine the cloud top temperatures. And why that matters is because the colder the cloud top, the stronger the thunderstorm activity. And we are seeing some pretty robust thunderstorms well dislocated from the center off to the north and east here. You can see them bubbling on up with the colder colors of the reds and dark reds over there to the south of the panhandle of Florida. Here's a look at Hurricane Hunter aircraft that have just departed. This is their current location. They will fly in and do a pattern in the storm system to determine the winds and the closed circulation potential in that area. Satellite and radar imagery here does show that all the heavy rain associated with the thunderstorm activity is located offshore. More good news there, and it's only meandering very slowly to the north-northwest, so I don't expect this rain to move far inland before it starts to build its way off to the south in the next 24 to 48 hours. So here's a look at visible satellite imagery, and this tells us a lot. A lot of times we can see when the system is very much sheared. Wind shear is a change in wind direction and speed with height, so when you get that impacting a tropical system, it tends to tilt it over and exposes its low-level center. We can kind of see under the hood of the car. And we were seeing that for a little while yesterday, but now that low-level center looks to be pivoting back under all of the convection off to the north and east. What we are seeing get spit out to the southwest here is outflow from collapsing thunderstorms in this area of convection here, and that's a sign of some organization and potential intensification as we go forward in time. So we have our tropical development checklist here, things we need, ingredients in our recipe to have a tropical system. So we need water temperatures to be at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything cooler than that does not sustain the transfer of heat energy from the ocean surface to a developing tropical system. We have that currently, but the other two important ingredients we would need would be low wind shear, which we don't have. Right now there's light to moderate wind shear, and that's only forecast to get more intense in the coming days. And we don't have the moist air. We need that. It's a tropical system. Dry air would choke off a developing system, and we've got plenty of that. I'll show it to you here on water vapor imagery of satellite. This tells us mid-level moisture readings. And when you got the rust color, the yellows in here, that is super dry air in the mid-levels. And if they get sucked into the circulation of a developing system, you can see the moist air here, it would tend to choke it off and it would fall apart. Right now, it's remaining pretty well to the south, but this is the direction it's expected to move into in the next 24 hours or so. Water temperatures, as I mentioned, we certainly have an abundance of warm ocean in the Gulf of Mexico. These numbers are running 2, 3, 4 degrees above seasonal averages for this time of the year. And again, it's only moving into warmer, deeper water as it pushes off to the south. Here's our spaghetti plots on this. Now that it is an Invest, we do have model data on it, and the majority of them take it off to the south. There is a considerable spread as we get farther out in time. That would be expected, but most are taking it to the south, and then basically a southeasterly component to that track, maybe heading towards the western part of Cuba and then some even take it farther to the east towards the southern portion of Florida in the long range. A lot can happen now, and we do expect the wind shear to pick up in time. So there's a small window for this to develop, pretty much the next 48 hours. It gets into the southern Gulf, and notice it really gets sheared apart here, and there's not much left as we get into the second part of the weekend as it begins to push over the western half of Cuba. In terms of its wind field, check this out. Current wind readings on some buoys are up to 40, 45, 50 miles per hour. That wind field does get larger as it deepens, and as it pushes to the south, we see that burst of intensification, and then it really falls apart as it gets sheared later this weekend over the western part of Cuba. So keep that in mind. If it was to develop and get a name, the first name on our list of 21 for 2023 is Arlene. And a named storm this early in the season is a bit unusual. When we look back at the past 30 seasons, typically we get our first named storm on or around June 20th. And then it goes up from there. We get our fifth named storm by around August 29th. So if we were to get it today or tomorrow, it'd be running roughly 3 weeks ahead of schedule. So that's interesting to note. That's the latest. If hurricane hunters do find data to suggest that it is a closed circulation and that it is a tropical storm, we'll have an update on that. But you can find me on all my social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now on TikTok at Tim Talk Weather. We'll see you again later today or tomorrow.